안녕하세요. 오늘 GP 노르딕 웨비나 사회 진행을 맡게 된 코트라 스톡홀름 무역관 심주희연입니다. 먼저 바쁘신 와중에도 오늘 웨비나 참석을 위해 귀한 시간 내주신 각 기업 대표님, 관계자분들께 감사의 말씀 전합니다. 오늘 우리는 개회사와 연사 소개를 거쳐 약 70분간 노르웨이 친환경 에너지 및 배터리 산업, 투자 환경, 그리고 노르웨이 대표 2차 전지 기업인 프라이어 배터리 비욘도사의 배터리 양산 프로젝트 및 구매 정책에 대해 들어보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 간단한 연사 소개 및 웨비나 주제에 대해 설명드리겠습니다. 첫 번째 웨비나 주제는 노르딕 신재생 에너지 투자 환경으로 노르웨이 수재의 신재생 에너지 관련 투자 자문사 아르틱 시큐리티스의 상무이사 헤랄드 본 헤이든님께서 발표해 주시겠습니다. 두 번째 웨비나 주제는 노르딕 배터리 씬으로 노르웨이 배터리 산업 환경입니다. 동 내용은 노르웨이 정부 산하기관으로 노르웨이 기업의 글로벌 진출 및 혁신을 담당하고 있는 이노베이션 노르웨이의 투자본부장으로 근무 중이신 노라 로셴베리 그로백 님께서 말씀해 주시겠습니다. 다음으로는 노르웨이 대표 2차 전지 양산 기업인 프라이어 배터리스 노르 비욘더의 배터리 양상 프로젝트 및 구매 정책을 설명드릴 예정입니다. 동 내용은 차례대로 프라이어 배터리사의 요나톤 밀레 구매 담당 이사님, 비욘도사의 스테이나 리아 업무 총괄 이사님, 그리고 리사 할렌 스트라보 공급 제인 매니저님이 발표해 주시겠습니다. 세미나를 본격적으로 시작하기에 앞서 저희 코트라 스톡홀름 무역관 최병원 관장님과 한국금융투자협회의 한재영 부장님의 인사말로 오늘의 웨비나 시작하도록 하겠습니다. 최병원 관장님께서는 뉴욕과 도쿄, 테헤란 등 해외 여러 국가를 거쳐 2018년부터 스톡홀름 무역관에서 관장직을 수행 중이십니다. 환영 부탁드립니다.
안녕하십니까. 트러스트홀름 무역관장 최병입니다. 2021년 GP 노르딕 노르웨이의 배터리 산업 웨비나를 통해 만나뵙게 되어 무척 반갑습니다. 저희 스톡홀름 무역관은 2020년 GP 스웨덴을 개최한 이후 노르딕으로 통칭되고 있는 북유럽의 글로벌 기업들과 우리 기업 간의 지속적이고 장기적인 산업협력 플랫폼을 마련하기 위해 헬싱키 및 코펜하겐 무역관과 공동으로 GP 스웨덴의 확장 버전인 2021년 GP 노르딕을 개최하게 되었습니다. 스웨덴은 자동차와 기계, 노르웨이는 선박과 배터리, 핀란드는 ICT, 덴마크는 풍력과 선박산업 등에서 강점을 보유하고 있어 GP 노르딕을 통해 다양한 산업 분야에서 우리 기업들과 북유럽 기업 간의 산업협력 기회가 창출될 것으로 기대되고 있습니다. 주지하다시피 스웨덴과 노르웨이, 덴마크, 핀란드 모두 꿈의 나라로 일컬어지는 북유럽의 국제선진국으로 정평이 나있고 우리에게도 꽤나 익숙합니다만 유럽의 산업 강국이라는 사실들은 간과되고 있는 현실입니다. 특히 노르웨이는 인구 550만의 협소한 내수 시장에도 불구하고 세계적인 선박산업 강국이자 방위산업 분야의 경쟁력이 높은 국가입니다. 최근 석유산업 의존도 완화를 위해 미래 먹거리로 차세대 배터리 산업 육성에 밥값을 맞추고 있어 노르웨이와 우리 기업 간의 산업협력 모두가 조성되고 있습니다. 우리나라의 대노르웨이 수출은 코로나19에 따른 부침 탓에 2020년 약 15억 달러에 그쳤습니다만 총 수출의 95%를 차지하고 있는 수출 상위 12품목들이 선박과 전기자동차, 무기류, 계측기, 건설 중장비, 온도비 등으로 구성되어 있는 것을 볼 때 양국 기업 간의 산업협력, 잠재력이 충분한 것을 알 수 있습니다. 최근에는 젊은 층을 중심으로 한국산 화장품에 대한 인지도가 높아지는 등 한류 비즈니스 확산 조짐이 나타나기도 합니다. 이와 같은 움직임은 향후 우리 기업과 노래 기업 간의 산업협력 전망을 매우 밝게 해주고 있습니다. 이에 저희 스톡홀름 무역관은 GP 노르딕 사업을 준비하고 오늘 여러분을 모시게 되었습니다. 예기치 않은 코로나19 사태의 장기화로 인해 GP 노르딕을 온라인으로만 진행할 수밖에 없는 아쉬움이 있기는 합니다만 저희 스톡홀름 무역관의 모든 역량을 집중하여 우리 참가 기업의 실질적인 성과 창출이 이루어지도록 최선을 다할 예정입니다. 앞으로 사업 정례화와 북유럽 글로벌 기업들의 참가 확대 등을 통해 GP 노르딕이 우리 기업과 북유럽 기업 간의 실질적인 산업협력 플랫폼으로 자리매김할 수 있도록 노력해 나가겠습니다. 끝으로 오늘 GP 노르딕 노르웨이 배터리 웨비나의 성사를 위해 아낌없는 도움을 주신 한국금융투자협회 관계자님들과 웨비나 연사로 참여해 주신 이노베이션 노르웨이와 프레이어, 비욘드, 모로사의 관계자님들께 진심으로 감사드리며 우리 참가기업 모두의 실질적이고 만족스러운 성과 창출을 기원드립니다. 감사합니다.
최병훈 관장님 개회사 감사드립니다. 그럼 바로 이어서 한국금융투자협회 한재영 부장님의 GP 노르딕 환영사 진행하도록 하겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 금융투자협회 조사국제부 한재영 부장입니다. 오늘 이렇게 좋은 기회를 같이 만들어주신 코트라 스톡홀름의 관계자 여러분, 그리고 이노베이션 노르웨이 담당자 여러분들께 큰 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 특히 오늘 바쁜 와중에 저희 웹세미나에 참석해주신 저희 금투협 회원사 임직원 여러분들께도 많은 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 저희 금융투자협회는 작년 코로나19 이후 해외 출장, 인적 교류가 어려워진 회원사 임직원분을 대신해서 해외의 다양한 투자 정보를 제공하는 글로벌 웹세미나 시리즈를 기획해 진행해 오고 있습니다. 작년부터 올해까지 약 21회 정도 개최했고요. 올해에도 매달 2회 정도 다양한 국가, 산업 관련된 정보를 제공하는 웹세미나를 제공하오니 많은 관심 부탁드리겠습니다. 웹세미나는 노르웨이의 신재생 에너지 산업 관련한 주제로서 특히 최근 ESG 관련해서 전 세계의 관심이 높고 특히 신재생 에너지, 2차 전지 관련한 투자자의 관심도 높아진 상황에서 매우 적절하다고 생각됩니다. 특히 오늘 세미나에는 수소 에너지 관련해서 기술력이 높은 노르웨이의 전문가께서 연사로 참여해주고 있어서 더욱 기쁩니다. 아무쪼록 오늘 세미나가 저희 청중 여러분 그리고 연사 여러분들께서도 많이 얻고 가시는 기회가 되길 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
한국금융투자협회 한재영 부장님 훌륭한 환영사 감사합니다. 다음으로 Arctic Securities의 Harald von Heyden 상무이사님의 노르딕 재생에너지 산업 현황 및 투자 환경 발표를 시작으로 2021년 GP 노르딕 웨비나 본격적으로 진행하도록 하겠습니다.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Harald von Heyden, and I'm leading the renewables effort here at Arctic Securities, a leading Nordic investment bank. A few words about Arctic Securities first. We are about 300 employees spread out across Norway, Sweden, Hamburg, and New York. And we provide corporate finance services, brokering, and analysis to leading investors in the region and also internationally. We've been around for about 14 years. I've had strong growth, and we now cover most of the sectors that are strong in the Nordics. Over the last couple of years, obviously, we've had a major focus on developing the renewables industry. And Norway has, of course, a very strong position in the renewables industry in Europe and globally. We have a company called Statkraft in Norway, which is by far the largest producer of renewable energy in Europe, and it's state-owned, so it's not one that is available to investors, but it is a industrial flagship, providing kind of a leadership position in investing in most of the renewable production technologies we have, of course, given the nature of Norway, with a strong focus on hydropower, but in the last years also a very strong focus on wind, solar, batteries, and hydrogen. When it comes to the investor community, we typically we have a very broad focus on what kind of renewable technology we will look into, and I already mentioned solar, wind, hydro. But now more and more of the focus is going towards hydrogen, towards batteries, towards green infrastructure such as grids, harbors, and actually production facilities of those. In addition to also software solutions enabling the green shift, such as a large Norwegian company called Arendal Fossil Company, which just listed on the stock exchange as a leading software provider to the renewable industry. Going through each of the sectors, we've seen quite a bit of foreign investors in the Nordics, in Norway, Sweden, and Finland, which we have provided advice to. Onshore, of course, wind has been kind of the main story the last 10-15 years, with some of the largest European wind parks being built. Actually, the largest onshore wind park in Europe is being built just now on the west coast of Norway. Finland has become a very strong contender last couple of years, as well as Sweden. So that is quite clearly the leading kind of renewable technology. And of course, onshore, that is now on a cost parity with most existing renewable technologies. And we have the kind of story of the future is much more on the offshore side. Of course, Norway borders the North Sea basin, which is going to be the leading area, or is already, but it's also forecasted to be the leading area for offshore wind in the world. The technical potential there is enough to cover the world demand of renewable energy for about 1.5 times. This is a combination of both very strong winds, shallow waters, closeness to a lot of consumption areas from the North Sea basin, such as, of course, the UK, Benelux, Germany, Denmark, and Norway. So what is happening there now is there's a plan to build a European supergrid, they call it, an integrated grid out in the North Sea, kind of connecting all the wind parks that are being built, giving them the flexibility to send the power to whichever market is paying the highest price at that hour or at that time. And other more futuristic plans for that supergrid is also, of course, also to integrate that with hydrogen production facilities out on artificial built islands out in the North Sea. So that brings me to the second big story, of course, of the European renewables transition is the whole green hydrogen story. Germany, as the largest economy in Europe, has put a huge focus on green hydrogen as their kind of renewable energy carrier of the future. They do not have enough renewable resources in Germany to create the green shift, so they are dependent on imports, and they would like that import to be green hydrogen from close and stable geographies such as Norway, which for decades has supplied Germany with oil and gas, and they are looking for Norway to be a stable supplier of green hydrogen for them in the future. So the debate now is will that hydrogen be green, meaning coming directly from renewable energy through water electrolysis, or will it be blue, meaning that they have all the steam methane reformed gas and taking care of the CO2, and of course the Norwegian gas industry is putting a whole lot of hope and effort on also a combination of both green and blue hydrogen, and so they've already built a huge CO2 deposit project outside the coast of Norway called Northern Lights. About 20 billion has been invested in that to create that project where you can store the CO2 from sequestered gas, and there's a lot of investments going on around there with the whole supply chain, the whole transport, the whole storage of CO2. So hydrogen being another big story, and also a lot of foreign investors looking to Norway to be part of the whole European green hydrogen story. We have, of course, a flagship company in Norway called Nel. It's listed on the stock exchange. It's been a long-term client of us, of Arctic, world leading producer of electrolysis equipment, and they are also broadening out internationally, and they also have strong presence actually in Korea. That brings me to the other big next big story and renewables in the Nordics and Norway, and that's batteries. Of course, everyone has now agreed to the future being electric when it comes to mobility, and we have see a huge demand for batteries coming forward, and we also see that these batteries will have the buyers of those batteries, for example, the large German car manufacturers, will require those batteries to have been produced in a green manner, also taking all the ESG principles in mind. So they will be looking for sourcing those batteries again from Europe, not necessarily wanting to source them from China or from far away, basically. So what we are now seeing are a number of battery projects in Norway and Sweden to serve the European car manufacturers. The first battery project, which of course is well known, is Northvolt, which has become a big international success. That the gigafactory in the north of Sweden will be operational within a year or two, and is already sold out in terms of supply batteries to BMW and Volkswagen. What we are now seeing is a number of battery projects in Norway also. One called Morrow, for which we have a mandate. There is also one called Freyr, and also a third one called Beyonder. All of them will build gigafactories somewhere along the coast of Norway. These batteries will be produced using 100% green energy, which is what we have in Norway, and they will also use a lot of other green input factors. So that is how they will differentiate themselves. Closeness to market and of all of the green input factors, and we believe that these will all be built and will be sold out, given our projections of European battery demand. I think also when it comes to solar, actually we also have quite some interesting stories coming out of the Nordics. Of course, the Nordic countries are not well known for having a lot of sunshine, so maybe we will not see that huge of a solar industry in Norway or Sweden. We will see some though, but what we have seen is, of course, a lot of companies with a big international footprint that in solar coming out of Norway. For example, Scatec Solar is a well-known example. It's listed on the Oslo Stock Exchange, and it's a global leader in building large-scale solar farms around the world. What we also see is, I mean, the whole residential solar space being quite interesting, but of course needing software solutions, needing smart solutions for that to be cost effective for customers. We have a very interesting company called Otovo coming out of Norway, listed here on the stock exchange. It's aiming to be the European leader in residential solar, having some very smart software solutions there to make the whole process cost effective. And that is, I think, that leads me over also to a kind of a more general point on the Nordic stock exchanges, especially a new stock exchange which has grown up here in Oslo. It used to be called Merkur Markets. It's part of the Oslo Stock Exchange, but it has a lighter listing requirements than the main list. It has now been renamed to Euronext Growth, which has seen a record number of listings for green companies. It's actually the listings on Euronext Growth the last 12 months is more than 3 times what we've seen in any other European stock exchange last 12 months. And these are mainly renewables or ESG focused companies. We see companies listing here that have no reason to be listed in Norway. They don't have a Norwegian management. They don't have operations in Norway. But they see this as a very good place to be listed, both because of the regulations are good, transparent, sufficient, not over-regulated, but also because, of course, there's a lot of capital available for green investments. A lot of the investments are euro denominated, and also the whole power market in Norway is euro denominated, which of course could be an interesting thing to note for I know that Korean investors have do not necessarily like the kind of the foreign exchange risk involved when you do NOK or SEK denominated investments. It's easier though to find euro denominated investments in the renewable sector. Lastly, a thing that we also see is a lot of buildup of data centers. Whether that counts as a renewable investment or not is questionable, but again, as you will know, data centers need a lot of power. If that power can be green and relatively cost efficient, like it is in the Nordics, that's a huge reason to put your data center in the Nordics, as well as, of course, stable regulations and so on. So I think, I mean, with those words, I would welcome you to invest in the Nordics with a renewable background. We are happy to take your calls, and happy to direct you in the right direction and support that. So that I think was my talk today, and wishing you a very good day further on.
훌륭한 세미나 감사드립니다. 다음으로 이노베이션 노르웨이 투자본부장 노라 로센베리 그로백님의 노르딕 배터리 씬 발표가 있겠습니다.
Dear all, it's an honor to be here today and humbling to be presenting to such a knowledgeable audience. My name is Nora Rosenberg Grobaek, and I lead the battery ecosystem activities for Innovation Norway and Invest in Norway. Innovation Norway is the Norwegian government's most important instrument for innovation and development of Norwegian enterprises and industry. We support companies in developing their competitive advantage and to enhance innovation. Innovation Norway create value by stimulating to profitable business development throughout Norway. Our programs and services are intended to create more successful entrepreneurs, more enterprises with capacity for growth, and more innovative business clusters in a world where global competition is intensifying in key industries, such as the battery sector, which is the topic for today. I also represent Invest in Norway, and we are part of Innovation Norway, where we are the official investment promotion agency for Norway. And we facilitate foreign direct investments to our country. I will present our services in the next slide. But with me today, I have representatives from the Norwegian ecosystem for batteries, including some of our up-and-coming projects for battery cell manufacturing and innovation. As I mentioned earlier, I represent Invest in Norway, the official investment promotion agency for our country. We facilitate foreign direct investments and can assist with a wide range of services, including advisory, site selection, and introductions to any parts of the Norwegian ecosystem. That includes other industry sectors as well as the battery ecosystem, such as data centers, hydrogen, carbon capture and utilization, and any other power-intensive industries. We can provide contact details to our team at any time, and you can also visit our website at www.invinor.no for more information. I also have some wonderful colleagues in our Seoul office, which are always eager to help you at your convenience. So let's get on with today's topic. There's no reason for me to tell you about the market development and the demand globally. We all know that the battery industry is growing fast. Norway has been leading electrification of transportation for a while, and we have the world's most mature market for electric cars. By 2025, Norway's ambition is for all new cars to be emission-free. So that's one of the reasons why Norway is a good fit for international collaboration. We have been taking brave political decisions to achieve a truly sustainable society. Electrification of transportation being one initiative. You could call Norway the world's testbed for zero-emission transport. We're home to the world's most developed market for electric cars that I mentioned earlier. More than 50% of new car sales in 2020 were fully electric. And by 2025, as I mentioned, we want all new cars to be zero emission. Another positive aspect is that the Norwegian workforce is highly qualified for battery production. Not only is the education level among the highest in the world, but Norwegians are also known for their independent thinking. With few hierarchical structures between employees and the management, direct communication is the norm, fostering innovative suggestions from all employees. Norway offers highly competent, world-leading professional networks spanning both academia and business, with a particular emphasis on the type of solutions that can address the world's challenges of sustainability. Norwegians are early adopters to new technology, and with a forward-leaning government supporting specialized business clusters, we're hoping to continue our strong position as world leaders, also with ocean and energy markets where we are strong. Despite the global pandemic, 2020 turned into a banner year for the development of the battery value chain and ecosystem and sustainable transport in Norway. Thanks to Norway's abundance of clean energy, highly advanced process industry, and ambitious electric vehicle policy that we've talked about today, 2020 has been a game changer for the Norwegian battery industry. With the announcement of several battery cell production facilities, in March 2020, Morrow Batteries, backed by Nora and Agder Energy, announced plans to build a gigacell factory. We have Freyr's plans to build a battery cell factory at Mo Industrial Park in northern Norway, and soon we will be manufacturing EV batteries at an impressive rate. Later in the webinar, you will also meet Beyonder, who is turning Norwegian sawdust into battery cell technology. Towards the end of the year in 2020, we also saw the announcement of Hydro and Equinor having signed a memorandum of understanding with Panasonic to explore possibilities for establishing a sustainable, cost-competitive European battery business in Norway. As you can understand, the industry activity is high. Hydro also entered a joint venture with Swedish Northvolt called Hydrovolt and is establishing a world-leading battery recycling hub in Norway, laying the foundations for a circular supply chain for electric car batteries in Europe. One thing I want to touch upon today is Norway is an attractive location for green energy intensive industries. I think that is known to most of the audience. Clean, low cost energy, access to materials through our world leading process industry, low regulatory risks and short distance to the European market, reduce cost and carbon footprint. I know that many of Norway's competitors like to mention the fact that Norway is not a part of EU as a risk factor. However, this is just not the case. Sometimes they even do not compare sites in various countries to ours because we are more competitive on cost. Although we are not a member of the EU, Norway is a member of the European Economic Area and an equal partner in the EU internal market. Norway is included in the EU's 4 freedoms, free movement of goods, services, people, and capital. We do not anticipate any changes in our partnership with the EU. We are best in class in implementing EU regulations as a fact. Norway is an extremely stable country politically, economically, and geologically, so it's a safe place to make long-term investments and strong partnerships. So now that we've established Norway's relationship to the EU, let's look at some of the specific opportunities that we have in Norway. So I also wanted to touch upon the Norwegian energy situation. Norway is 100%, almost 100% powered by clean hydropower. And we have a huge surplus. The Norwegian Energy Directorate estimates that the power surplus in Norway will continue to grow, mostly due to increased production of wind power. We produce 5 terawatt hours more than we consume in a normal year. Going forward, we aim to increase production from wind and hydropower by 29 terawatt hours per year. There is a little amount of solar being produced per year that we expect 1 terawatt hours. And from that, we expect to use an additional 3 terawatt hours for data centers, 9 terawatt hours for other energy intensive industry, and 5 terawatt hours for electrification of transportation. And that leaves us in 2030 with a surplus of 20 terawatt hours in 2030 for renewable energy. And again, that's a mix of hydro, wind, and solar that will increase our net surplus. The reason, above all reasons, why we think Norway is the best location for any power-intensive industry is the low electricity price. We are very competitive when it comes to the price and electricity to large industry, and the battery industry is, of course, one of these. So, what does the Norwegian ecosystem in the battery sector look like now that we have established some of Norway's strongholds? So we like to say that we have a near complete value system. So from our process industry on the material side, we have exciting battery cell manufacturing projects ongoing. On the module and packaging side, we have companies such as Siemens and Corvus already established in Norway, catering to our maritime sector. And on the recycling side and on the battery application side, we are forward-leaning. And here is a little overview of some of the companies that are present in these various steps of the Norwegian ecosystem. On the application side, I've talked about the EV penetration earlier for Norway, but our maritime sector is also charging ahead. Of the full fleet of electric or battery hybrid vessels globally, 40% of these are Norwegian. Our strong ecosystem also has potential for growth and partners, and one of the reasons we are here to talk to you today. Given that the Norwegian process industry is powered almost exclusively by renewable hydropower, production of battery cells, precursors, and battery raw materials in Norway can help to reduce the total carbon footprint of battery production in Europe. So this was a quick snapshot of the industry and market in Norway, and then I'm very keen now to switch over to some of our Norwegian companies presenting today to listen to their company presentations. Again, feel free to contact me, myself, or one of my colleagues here in Oslo with Invest in Norway, or one of my colleagues at our Seoul office for more information. Thank you.
훌륭한 세미나 감사합니다. 다음으로 프라이어 배터리 비욘도사의 2차 전지 양산 프로젝트 및 구매 정책에 대해 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to be presenting at the Global Partnering Nordic event held by the Korean Trade Investment Promotion Agency. So thank you all for coming. I'm here today to talk about Freyr Clean Battery Solutions. I'll take you through our plans and ambitions and the starting point for why we believe this is a fundamentally exciting industry, which will take a much bigger role in Norwegian industrial development in the years to come. Our starting point is the urgent need for decarbonization of the transport and energy systems. And those require a large volume of batteries. And then we believe that these batteries themselves need to be decarbonized from the outset. The faster that we can decarbonize these batteries, the faster we can meet the climate change objectives in the Paris Agreement. So what is Freyr in a nutshell? Freyr is a low carbon, cost advantage battery supplier. We believe the shift to renewable grids and electric vehicles is driving the demand for energy storage and lithium-ion battery solutions much faster than most people think. Following the Tesla Battery Day, the Volkswagen Power Day, estimates for demand of batteries keep being revised upwards in line with Freyr's expectations. We will talk today about a fundamental increase in demand contrasted with a very large market short environment, which means a fundamentally strong growth story in the making, which we believe Norway has a critical role to play in going forward. Norway, as a starting point, has ultra low cost energy relative to all other locations in Europe where battery cell production is planned. Combined with low carbon or zero carbon energy, provides a fantastic starting point for Norway. Another important feature is Norway's century-long experience with the energy industry, energy-intensive processes, and strong engineering competences, which are fundamental to ensure the important growth of the battery cell industry here in Norway. This growth in the battery industry begins in the building for us of a 40 gigawatt hour battery plant. And we plan to do that in a modular phased approach by the start of 2025. We're doing that with a strategy of partnering, and this will flavor our supply chain and how we do our business. But first, looking at the value chain, Freyr's initial focus is to focus on battery cell production itself. And this is a simplified version of the battery value chain, from mining to active materials, cell production, packs and modules, and recycling. And what you see from that is 32% of the value is created in the battery cell production phase. This is the most energy intensive part of the value chain and is also very process intensive, which works really well to Norway's strengths of low energy and good process industry competence. All across the value chain, from raw material providers all the way through to recycling, have noticed those comparative strengths of Norway and have shown a great interest in partnering and potentially co-locating here in Norway. Okay, we've done some analysis with McKinsey looking at global market demand. And we've asked the question, what happens if the technology development continues in the way it is? And what happens if this is coupled with, let's say, regulatory pressure from governments around the world? Something we're already seeing in the European Union. Increased their ambition recently from 40 to 55% of decarbonisation by 2030. Many other countries are sort of implementing the same, with the Chinese government recently announced 25% electric vehicle presentation ambitions by 2025, basically requiring a lot of Chinese produced batteries to stay in China to support that ambition. And this drives markets to require demand from outside of China. And this also compounds what we believe that there will also be a much faster growth than analysts initially predicted. And for us, it's just fundamental that we go forward and decarbonize this battery sector. Therefore, that low carbon batteries have a fundamental role in where we're going with meeting our climate change objectives. Since our inception, we've entered into over 30 agreements with different companies along the value chain. And this follows our partnership model. We are right now in discussions with over 40 different customers, and we're very happy with the situation that we're in right now. And we've selected our first disruptive technology, and that goes back to our strategy of implementing best available commercially introduced technology. And I'll come back to what this means for us in terms of a step change in cost, performance, and production of batteries. This should hopefully help us deliver top-notch batteries to the industry. Yeah, these are just an overview of some of the partnerships that we have with Freyr right now. And these partnerships will help us meet our objectives of delivering low carbon batteries to the market and decarbonizing the sector. If I just highlight, say, for example, Itochu, that is a great example where our partnering strategy with them, along with them being an investor of 24M, has allowed for a fantastic win-win situation where they can help us in different areas of the value chain, but also they have interest in us succeeding with their interest in 24M. But this, the technology from 24M obviously has some fantastic advantages, which we believe will help us go to be on the lowest part of the carbon curve. In this graph, this shows different carbon emissions from different battery producers around the world. We believe that with the 24M technology and the relative advantages that Norway has, that this will place us on the absolute left-hand side of this so-called carbon curve. An analysis done by all battery producers have given us this data. So we have a very strong plan and a very realistic belief that we believe we will get here by 2025. And we're very comfortable that we can offer this fundamental strategic importance of decarbonized batteries to the industry. So this is just a slide showing the emerging European battery supply chain that's building up here in Europe. We believe that Norway has a great role to play in leading the way for the electrification we started by the rollout of electric vehicles more than 10 years ago, and Norway is recognized as the country that has most EV penetration around the world. We have also a lot of fundamental research going on with Norwegian institutions such as NTNU and SINTEF to support electric vehicle adoption and beyond. We're now looking at the marine segments and other areas of battery applications. Most of these stakeholders are today sourcing their battery cells from Asia, where there is no battery cell production in Norway today. And we believe that Norwegian stakeholders need to fill this void, and we hope that Freyr can be the person to produce these batteries for further battery penetration here in the Norwegian market. In addition, this also shows that there are a large presence of critical elements in the Nordic region. 24M is a technology that we have licensed, announced last year, and the final license agreement was early this year. This is a revolutionary new way of producing lithium-ion batteries, both in terms of how the cell is designed, not least to say in how it's produced, and it's also a step in the right direction with semi-solid battery technology. I have to say it's been my pleasure working with the 24M team on many fronts in the last few months, and I will talk a little bit more how they've been supporting us in our supply chain a little bit later. So this is a cost curve analysis where you see that Freyr places itself very competitively on the cost curve. So this is to do with the comparative advantages of the 24M technology, combined with the location that we have in Mo i Rana and our large scale ambitions. Also, this helps place us right on the left hand side of the curve. We believe that, as I said earlier, demand is going to grow and outstrip supply by 2025. And we believe Norway and Freyr can be a leader in this business, implementing our plans over the next 5 years. And we're going to continue to grow that as we target to be one of the Europe's largest producers of batteries by the year 2025. And now we're also looking if we can replicate our plans in other locations around the world. This slide shows an overview of a town in Norway called Mo i Rana, where we plan to develop our battery factories. I have to say that I'm really happy that we're here in Mo i Rana. There are a lot of great people with a strong industrial heritage, great competence, and an understanding of 24-hour operations that is almost in the DNA of the town, which comes from the history that the town has had. There are, of course, advantages of being in the NO4 region with a great surplus of hydropower in the region and cooling water, which is another fantastic advantage in the battery industry. We're now getting ready to order our equipment for Norway's first large-scale lithium-ion battery production facility. And we're going to do this in a modular way, as you see those numbers across the map there. We will then build up from our first plant all the way up to 40 gigawatts by 2025 in these different modules. And we've also received a fantastic amount of support from Innovation Norway, Innova, and the deep processes that we have to gain government support within Norway, which just shows how Norway is waking up to the massive opportunity that we have in this battery space. This slide shows a bit about Freyr's procurement process. We have some procurement principles, fairness in all sourcing activities, compliance with all relevant legislation, and assurance of best possible value. I want to highlight that we speak about value in our procurement process, not just cost. And then also a development of long-term partnerships so that we can develop with our partners. And then there's a bit of an overview of our sourcing process, where we have a qualification. We're working very heavily with 24M on supplier qualification. And to begin with, we're very reliant on them. They've worked for many years qualifying certain equipment and material providers. So we'll use that as a starting point, and over time we'll build on that. And I'll speak a little bit more about qualification. Then we develop a strategy, which is then approved by our procurement committee, chaired by our COO. And then we execute this sourcing process, whether it be negotiation or tendering, etc. And then that, once the sourcing process is complete and once we've selected a supplier, then we need to seek endorsement from our procurement committee to finally sign the contract and go forward to execute the contract. And that shows how we have good checks and balances in our procurement process, and also the right places for people to challenge how we do our business. But it shows that we have good governance and a structure around the way we do things, which should ensure fairness for us and also all the companies that we would like to do business with going forward. As I said, we're very reliant on 24M's pre-qualified technology, and qualification going forward will be a collaborative process with 24M and ourselves. That means that we will work with them to develop our qualification requirements, as well as scanning and viewing different players that are in the marketplace Right now, there are several Korean suppliers which are already qualified, both in the equipment manufacturer and also in the raw material or active material space as well. So we believe this is a very strong starting point, and we're very aware of the competence that exists out in Korea, but we will also be looking forward to see what other best available technology we can have from Korea that can be brought into our business. So in a nutshell, we believe that the decarbonisation is happening much faster than most people think, and plays a much larger role in the context of accelerating the rollout of clean batteries that help us make the world a better place and reduce CO2 emissions. I would just also like to say that we're very happy to be part of ecosystem in Norway and a new battery industry that's being built. And we want to wish everyone in that battery industry all the best of luck in their endeavors. And I'd like to say I don't see any of us as competitors. Our competitor is the internal combustion engine. And I look forward to seeing the progress that we and all of our allies in Norway, all the progress that we make to achieve in making the world a better place.
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting Beyonder to this KOTRA event on sustainable energy solutions and battery technologies session. We are very honored to be invited in and are happy to present you to our company Beyonder. It's gonna be myself, Steinar, the Chief Operating Officer of the company, and Lise Strabo, Supply Chain Manager, who will present the topics of today. What I'd like to talk about is the background of Beyonder, the fact that Beyonder already now has started manufacturing. We are actually producing battery cells for industrial use, and we have specific plans for the pilot and for the full-scale production. And I'd like to give you the roadmap for our plans going forward. And Lise will give you more details on the supply issues and supply demands that we will have in the near future and also in the few years to come. So Beyonder was started in 2016 by our founder Svein Kvernstuen, and he teamed up with our R&D manager, Dr. Feng Lu, and the focus of Beyonder is to get a grip on the industrial market, not the EV market where we typically find the lithium battery, what can I say, segments of the industry. We are focusing on the heavy-duty industrial customers, where the development on the battery technology hasn't come that far. So Beyonder will lead the way towards the sustainable high-power battery cell technology to increase the use of renewable energy in industrial applications around the world. The challenges that we are facing, all of us these days, is the growing need for reliable energy storage and a backup system. And the challenge is that stability of electrical grids is challenged due to the enhanced use of electrifications of the industry and by the use of the public these days. Another challenge is the environmental cost of battery production, which is a concern. And for the products, the batteries themselves, they have a long charge time, limited power, safety issues, and lifetime limitations. And this is something that we at Beyonder has looked into specifically. And our technology is now patented, and the battery cells that we are have developed and will now grow commercially is based on sustainable forestry residue. There is no heavy metals in our battery cells, no cobalt, no nickel. And the effect of the battery cells is a combination of the lithium-ion cells and the capacitor itself. So that is the specific kind of the pattern to the idea of our batteries. They have a high temperature tolerance, have a very high power, and they can be charged for up to 100,000 times without being decreasing any quality, and they can be charged within just a few minutes. So they will provide some issues with regards to the batteries that you won't find in today's batteries on the market. Beyonder has, as I started to say, already started to manufacturing in our prototype facility in Norway, western part of Norway, in Stavanger, just outside Stavanger, where we have our headquarters. We can see on this screen, this is part of the building I'm sitting in right now, and the added part here that will be added the next year will be the pilot production facility. Inside this building, you will find the prototype line. And as I said, we started now the production in March last month, and we are gradually growing our what can I say, capabilities in that production line. Of course, a prototype line will be about the product itself, developing the product. As I said, we have drawn up the pilot line. We are now starting buying the machines, and it will be up and running in 2022. And the pilot line will then be a test run for the full-scale facilities the B1 that we will be start building in late 2022 or 23. We will then start recruiting the number of employees. We look at 500 plus headcount working in the production lines for the full scale. And then in 2025 we plan to start building the B2, which will be an extension of the facility that we are looking at, which will be just half an hour's drive outside the Stavanger area where we are located today. What we look at is in the bigger perspective is the market itself. I think us being at this event are fairly familiar with the growth that this industry is already started facing and will be facing in the next years to come. The market will grow more than 100 times and beyond that. And the Norway battery cell revenue may hit like 90 billion Norwegian kroner by 2030, and it will become a catalyst for the entire supply chain where you guys should be looking into, because Beyonder will be requesting a lot of raw materials and a lot of support from sub-suppliers. And this will also start other green initiatives supporting the work scope and employment in the country of Norway, really. And for Beyonder's point of view, we are again to underline the fact that we will be focusing on the industrial segment, and that's a segment that we expect to have a significant market share. Our technology will fit perfectly with several segments, and we already have some LOIs for pilot projects running. So the first cells will be shipped out later this year to to some of the pilot products that we are doing together with our customers. The segments that is of most, what can I say, demand will probably be the grid systems, where our cells can, beyond the cells, can do the peak shaving. We have onshore wind parks, we have offshore wind parks, we have solar systems, charging stations for electrical vehicles, charging stations for vessels, buses. We have LOIs for bus transportation systems internationally. Trucks and heavy-duty vehicles, we have that internationally LOIs as well. And trains, we have that locally in Norway, and we have it internationally as well. So we see that we have quite a lot of promising segments that we will be focusing on in the near future. Talking about where we are today, the prototype line started then in March 2021, and this slide is just a little glimpse of to show you that we are on the way. We're on the way, and we're on the way to putting up the pilot plant. We will actually start the piling. When is it? Last week. So sitting in this building, we can then be annoyed by the heavy sounds from outside when they do the piling. But that's also a good noise, because that means that we have started building this facility. And the pilot facility itself will have a manufacturing capacity of 2,500 cells per day, like a 2.5 ppm. And it's going to support more of the pilot projects we have on our map, and also developing our manufacturing procedures. And it's going to be a test facilities, training facilities for our new employees. It's going to be working in the full-scale facility. The full-scale facility is now sketched up. We have identified the area where we'd like to be located. It's, as I said, going to be close to our headquarters in just outside Stavanger. And what we have on the map today is it's a 5-line manufacturing that's going to be divided into two steps. We'll probably build the first 3 lines, starting then in 2022, end of 2022, and then continue in 2024 with the remaining 2. And then we have more land as well, both in Norway and internationally, where we can increase our capacity. To Lise.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lise Strabo, and I started working for Bjørndre in the beginning of March this year as a supply chain manager. I'm really excited for being a part of this adventure and this great team who is to produce batteries for the heavy industry. Now that we are to build our supply chain, we are very grateful for being a part of this event to meet and team up with suppliers who can supply materials and equipment for our operation. Thank you, Nora and Julia, for the invitation. It's much appreciated. Through our procurement and purchasing process and selection of suppliers, we normally evaluate minimum 3 suppliers before one is selected. We are eager to partner up with suppliers who meet our values and criteria to support our business. Important factors in our selection of suppliers are safety, sustainability, price and payment conditions, and green and efficient logistic process, where we are to reduce and handle waste. The inventory and location is important to us. We would very much like to see an inventory hub or even a supplier in Norway, Europe. The serviceability, lead time and on-time delivery, and of course, transportation solution. Here you see the raw materials we need for our operation. We are eager to get in touch with suppliers who can supply these products. An advantage will be if you're willing to build an inventory hub or even become a supplier to our factory, close to our factory, even in Norway or Europe. On-time delivery and short lead time is very important to us. So why become a supplier for Beyonder? That leads us to the next page, where I will give you some of our estimates for the quantity of raw materials needed for our prototype line, pilot line, and full-scale production. We have started producing cells in our prototype line, and the aim is 100 cells per day. We're not there yet, as we've just started, but that is our common goal. For the pilot line in 2022, we aim to produce 2,500 cells per day and approximately 100,000 cells per day in our full-scale factory in 2024. This means we expect to have one full container of cells delivered from our factory every hour in 2024. From the figures you see here, we will need a lot of raw materials. This is a great opportunity to be a part of the upcoming battery industry that is being built in Norway now. There's a lot of factories that are being built. We hope with this that you find Beyonder interesting. We're looking forward to hear about you and your products and what you can offer. Maybe we even see you in Norway or Europe as a business partner. Thank you.
훌륭한 발표 감사합니다. 세미나를 진행해주신 각 기업 연사님들께 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 전합니다. 그럼 이상으로 노르웨이 GP 노르딕 웨비나를 마치도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 세미나를 진행해주신 모든 연사님들께 다시 한번 감사드리며 저희 스톡홀름 무역관에서 준비한 글로벌 파트너링 세미나가 기사의 북유럽 진출에 도움이 되기를 진심으로 기원합니다. 마지막으로 오늘 귀한 시간 내 참가해주신 모든 분들께 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 감사합니다.